Hey, lovelies. Welcome to this episode. Oh my God, I'm on fire with my opening comments. Um, Hi, welcome to this episode of Coach Caris podcast, Itchy Bitchy and Guests. I am going to give you an update on week 2 of my 16-week body transformation. I'm laughing because I did a podcast for the Momentum for Women with Ailsa and Wendy, and Ailsa decided that I should lead the podcast, which is fair enough, and I totally buggered up the name. I couldn't even remember the name of what we were called. Anyway, just nearly did that again. Anyway, welcome back, guys. This is week 2, right? I have 2 weeks of the 16-week body transformation in the bag, all right? Now, I want you to remember, this is not me trying to get skinny. I am actually trying to just drop some body fat and get some more muscle. So, or I just want to strip the body fat so that the muscle shows. But ultimately, what I'm trying to do is get rid of my top tummy and bottom tummy, right? So, we all have parts of our body that we're not particularly happy with. We all have parts of our body that we would like to be different. So, I'm actually going to try and change mine. Instead of whinging about it and instead of saying, fuck's sake, I'm sick of this, I'm actually consciously trying to do something about it. All right, so 16-week body transformation. Week 2 is in the bag. There was a slight drama on Sunday, but I'm going to talk about that next week. What I'm going to talk about this week is some of the things that I've done, and specifically Saturday, because I was out at the golf all day on Saturday at a social event. All right, so last week I spoke about a 2.4 kilogram weight drop, right? And told you about the actual science behind that. So quite a lot of the time, week 1 will be epic. You will actually get epic scale weight drops, right? It is not body fat. A bit of it's body fat, but it's predominantly not. Like, I didn't lose 2.4 kilograms of body fat in a winner, all right? It was all about just getting rid of some water, the glycogen, which is from carb storage, and just general inflammation in my body. So the scales always make a difference on the first week specifically, all right, which is also a good thing, providing you understand that it's not body fat, because if you think that it's 2.4 kilograms of body fat and then you only get half a kilo of body fat loss the next week, right, you're going to be super disappointed. So this transformation journey is pretty much about how far I can take my 52-year-old body and brain, nearly 53 by the way. But it's also a chance just to explain what fat loss and what dieting looks like in midlife. All right, this is the chat. So, week 2, a bit more realistic. All right, I started off the week as an average of 70.07 kilograms, and I finished the week on 69.46 kilograms. So, what's that? Just over half a kilo. All right. I am absolutely delighted with that. The calories that I am on at the moment, right? I am not starving. It's going to get sticky and it's going to get tight at some point. At the moment, it's not. It's week 2. All right. So it's a little calorie deficit that I'm in, but this is a pretty solid. It's a realistic drop. All right. And it's about me being consistent. So the theme of this week's podcast is building confidence, building unstoppable confidence, right? And a lot of women think that they will feel confident when they get to their scale weight, but confidence comes pretty much from the minute you decide that you're going to do something to look after yourself. That's when your confidence builds. And as a coach of midlife women and fat loss, I am not here to tell people what to eat. I don't give out diet plans. I'm not a dietitian. I don't say to people, you need to eat chicken, rice and veg for the rest of your life, all right? I am here to build women's confidence so that they can choose what works for them and they can try new things. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. We'll just come up with another plan. But if it does work, then they've got another wee tool in their toolbox to help with their fat loss. All right. So confidence, it doesn't come from the number on the scale. I mean, don't get me wrong. Do you know, if you absolutely get to your goal, I know at the end of the 16 weeks, right, if I have one tummy instead of my top tummy and my bottom tummy, yeah, I'm going to feel fucking amazing. My confidence is going to be like, honestly, I'm going to be strutting about in crop tops and hipster jeans. No, I'm not. I'm only joking. Well, I might. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But if you can try something new and it works, then that means that your confidence increases. And that's always the thing, all right? So setting a plan, trying something new, executing it, and proving to yourself that you can actually trust yourself, that's where confidence comes. Most of our confidence disappears because we think that we have consistently failed at dieting or at something else for the last 30 years. Guess what? The system that you were following was probably flawed. Anyway, right, I had a big weekend hurdle to get over. But it does make me think about that when quite often we will resort to old habits just to keep other people happy, right? And I'll share some of my data as well, all right? So on Saturday, we were at the Golf Scottish Open. I think that was what it was. Aye, the Golf Scottish Open, right? Now, this is an annual event. Me and Cal, I think we've been 4 or 5 times now, right? But it's a total annual event, right? But it's a wee tradition. Historically, what we do is we get a takeaway coffee on the way there and car sweets, like a glove box full of car sweets, right? Because you can't have a car journey without car sweets. Well, apparently you can, because I totally managed it, right? But this is what we would historically do, all right? We would have takeaway coffees and car sweeties on the way there, right? We would probably have a cake and coffee mid-morning time because obviously we'd be hungry. We would absolutely have a food truck lunch, definitely, probably loaded fries. That's what we've had previously. But this time there was actually a pizza slice stand. And I didn't have it, by the way, but if I was having it, I would have had pizza. I love pizza. Pizza is my favourite food. It's definitely my favourite takeaway. And it also looked amazing. Right, we probably would have had ice cream in the afternoon or another cake. And we absolutely would have went to the chippy when we came home. Right, so it's a long day, definitely. We're on our feet all day, right? But it's a brilliant day out. But if I'm being realistic in my 16-week transformation, right, for 1,800-ish calories, which is what I'm on at the moment, there is absolutely no danger I was going to fit all of that food in and hit my calorie goal and hit my macro goals. So did I sit on the sofa and skip the event because I'm slap banging this transformation? No, I did not. Did I go there, blow my goals, absolutely trash everything, bury my face in the food trucks and say, I'll start again on Monday? No, I did not. Right? Because that's actually one of the worst things that you can do. That's like brutal. You will never build confidence. All right. So we took a picnic, which is quite ironic, right? Because at the time it was an amazing plan and it was fabulous and it totally worked, right? But my mum moved house on Thursday, so I had a picnic on Thursday. I took a picnic on Thursday so that I could control the food. Took a picnic on Friday so that I could control the food because I was back at my mum's. All right, and we had a picnic on Saturday. I swear to God, I am never eating another ham sandwich again. I'm absolutely scunnered with them after 3 days, right? But it did the trick and it got us through the day. So this was new for us, all right? And obviously Cal's all in as well, so he supported me in all of this. So we set a plan. We executed it, right? And it was fine. It worked absolutely fine. We actually had a brilliant day. It did not impact on the fun that we had just because we were eating a picnic and not going to the food truck vans, right? Kept our energy levels up throughout the day. And I didn't come home and have a chippy. I actually came home and made the fakeaway chicken fried rice and curry sauce that I said that I was going to make. Well, Cal made the curry sauce, I made the chicken fried rice, right? So I was sitting on the sofa at 8 o'clock on Saturday night feeling like a right proper smug bitch. It was amazing, all right? And guess what that did? That totally increased my confidence because I realised that I didn't have to just revert to what we've always done just because we've always done it. So the fact that you can still live your life when you're on a body transformation or a fat loss or a diet, whatever you want to call it, all right, you can have a laugh, you can still hit your goals, and then after it you just have a little reflection. So think about what worked, think about what didn't work, and then you can tweak it next time, right? So what nearly never worked is we were actually there for longer than we thought we were going to be. We usually leave about 4:30, 5-ish, but the golf had been delayed because of the bad weather or because of the fog, the sea har. So by the time we did leave at 6:30, we were actually starving. Now, we had a whole conversation about going to the food truck because we were so hungry. And it's a good hour and 10 minutes, hour and 15 minutes to get home from the golf. However, we went full circle. We totally talked ourselves into it, and then we talked ourselves back out of it again, because ultimately we both want to hit our goals. So what would I do differently next time? I would absolutely take the same picnic with us, but I would take extra picnic. So I would take extra food with us, just in case we decide to stay late again. And last year when we were there, it was actually scorching. So if the weather had been better this year, we probably would have stayed even later. And at that point, we would have had to make a decision because we were so hungry. Anyway, we came home, smashed it. So that's the tweak that I would do next time. All right. But sometimes doing something differently, like packing a picnic, right, or skipping drinks. I had a conversation with somebody earlier on today as well, right? It can be hard, and because you're not doing what you would normally do, right? Now, if you do what you normally do, like takeaway coffee, cash sweeties, cake and coffee when we get there, food trucks, etc., right? It literally requires zero brain power whatsoever. Like, the biggest decision I would have had to make was, what food truck will I go to and what cake will I have, right? Hardly life-threatening, hardly a drama, right? But it would have required zero brain power. Whereas making a picnic, right, it was a whole, I know it's only a picnic, right, and I know I'm being slightly dramatic, but it was a whole level of brain power, right? I had to actually decide what we were taking on the picnic, right? Put them into the app to discover what the macros and stuff were, go to the shop and buy the stuff, make the picnic, pack the picnic, remember to take the picnic. I've actually made a picnic before, right? I made a picnic years ago for me and my mum. We went to Kirkcaldy. I can't remember why. My family's from Kirkcaldy, so we obviously weren't going to see my family or my mum's family. We must have been going somewhere. But I remember sitting in a park and leaning over in the back seat to get the picnic, and I hadn't packed the picnic. I'd literally lifted the 2 apples and the 2 bottles of water. Anyway, that was a long time ago. That was obviously when I was young and silly. Anyway, right, so it requires a lot of brain power, right? Especially when we're exhausted, or if we've tried something differently previously and it didn't work, then we can feel like we've failed. So the automatic thing we'd do would be to revert to what we've always done, because it's easy. You just like slide straight back into your old habits, right? It doesn't require any brain power whatsoever. But what also is really, really easy is sliding back into old habits to keep everybody else happy. Now, I actually do hear this quite a lot, right? I hear it quite a lot in the gym, and I hear it quite a lot from my clients, and just for random people as well that I've spoken to over the years. But somebody said to me that they find it easier to go out with strangers and not drink than they do when they're in the company of family and friends, right? And it's usually because of the expectation. So if people expect you to drink, the easiest thing to do is just to drink, right? If people expect you to order a takeaway, the easiest thing to do in the world is to order a takeaway, right? But the reason that we do this, I think the reason that we do this is one, it's confidence or lack of confidence. So we're not confident enough to stand up, not that you need to stand up, but we're not confident enough to put our goals out there. Like, how many would actually say, and I'm using alcohol, right, because you know what we're like in Scotland, it's like, oh, just take a drink, take a drink, you know, and people will actually like try and bully other people into having a drink. That's why I'm picking drink, all right? So because we didn't have the best reputation in Scotland. Like, I'm thinking a still game, to be fair. I didn't even think take a drink was off a still game. Anyway, if anybody knows that, drop me a wee message, because I can't remember what programme it's for. Maybe it is still game. Can't mind. Anyway, if anybody knows what programme that's off of, let me know. Anyway, right, so what we're terrified of ruining the vibe, right, or being the awkward one, or answering questions about why we aren't drinking or why we're not eating the takeaway food, right? And we're so terrified that we just put our own goals to the side. And it's generally because we don't want to make anybody else feel uncomfortable. Like, how many of you would stand there and think to yourself, do you know what? I didn't actually want to drink, but I'm not very sure that I actually want to stand there and tell somebody, no, I'm sorry, I'm just not drinking tonight because I've got fat loss goals, right? Because you'll literally stand there and think that everybody thinks that you're just being a bell end. But so you would rather just ditch your goals and not tell anybody your goals, and you would just have that drink, even though you didn't want to drink, right? And it's not this. This leads us to half-ass our commitment because we're letting other people's expectations dictate what we do. And ultimately, right, that's fucking bollocks. That's absolutely bollocks. See, when everybody wakes up in the morning, right, if you hadn't had that drink, nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to remember. Like, nobody's going to care, right? And you're going to wake up, like me, on Sunday morning, a proper smug bitch, because you totally stuck to your goal. So I just want you to have a think about that, right? If you are guilty of that, have a think about it. These people are your family. These people are your friends. Are they actually going to think that you're being a bell end? No, probably not, right? They're going to admire the fact that you've got a fucking massive pair of lady balls and you're actually putting yourself first. Anyway, just think about that, right? Some things that I did, right? It's not all sunshine and rainbows, obviously, right? We're not living in a party land of unicorns, right? Fat loss, I've said it to you before, I'll say it again, and I'll probably say it 90 million times as well, right? The process of dieting and fat loss is simple, right? It's not easy, but it is simple. So, for the food that I have eaten last week, right, I have kept it pretty simple and I am eating the same foods on repeat, right? Monday to Friday, breakfast is baked oats, cherry and almond. I usually half my breakfast, so I have half after training in the morning about 7:30, then I have the other half about 10:30 after I've had a takeaway coffee. And yes, I do track my takeaway coffees, all right? Flat whites, skinny flat whites, 60, 70 calories, all right? If you're having one or two of them a day, it does add up. So please do track it. Lunches last week were, I had a new recipe of one of my fellow coaches, and it was French toast mushroom cheesy melt. They were like, it was lovely. She posted the recipe, so I was like, give me the recipe. So she did, and it was lovely. So it was effectively French toast with a mushroom and pepper and onion topping with some grated cheese spread on top. It was pretty epic, to be fair. So I had that for my lunch every day. My dinners were air fryer chicken, marinated in some spice mixture. We've got about 9 different jars of spice mixtures. And we had it with salad and potatoes because you need to eat your carbs, ladies. All right, so we had potatoes. Afternoon snack was an apple pre-training, a protein yogurt after training. I probably had between 2 and 3 cans of Diet Pepsi. I usually have a can of Diet Pepsi when I come home from my evening shift, which is about 5:30, 6 o'clock. And then I usually have a can of Diet Pepsi after my dinner. All right, it's my new favourite addiction. And then supper was either a little twister, ice lolly, about 70 calories, or a dairy milk. And it's a little dairy milk. It's 4 squares and it's about 140 odd calories, I think. So that was my food, right? So it's pretty much on repeat, and I'm doing exactly the same this week. My food slightly changed. Cal's back shift this week, so I've kept my breakfast the same. My morning snack is the second half of my breakfast. We've had what we had for dinner last week for lunch. We're going to try that this week, so chicken and salad. Tonight I am having chicken and stir-fry veg, rice and sweet chilli sauce. And then for the rest of the week, I'm having chicken sausages, rice and veg, pretty much. So pretty much the same on repeat, all right? Weekends, slightly different. There was a lot of picnics last weekend. Usually it's eggs and toast for breakfast. Lunch on Saturday would normally have been a baked potato, and then Saturday night we would have had either chicken curry, Mayflower curry sauce, because it's like super low in calorie and tastes like the curry that you get out of the Chinese, which is like amazing. Cal makes it with like big chunky onions and stuff. And then Sunday is usually toast and banana, training, an omelette for lunch, and then maybe a steak or something for dinner. All right. So it's just, we've pretty much got a little repertoire of recipes that we know the calories for, we know the macros for, and stuff. So, ladies, I can't get across to you, right, how much you need to not be like MasterChef Monday to Friday, right? Nobody gives a fuck whether you're cooking a 3-course delight. Like, make it easy for yourself. If you need to use bagged lettuce, use bagged lettuce, use packets of rice, use stir-fry veggies, use the tubs that are the roasted veg, all right? Or stand and do some prep at the weekend. Chop all your vegetables, stick them in some tubs. I even chopped my strawberries, actually, because I couldn't be faffed chopping them every time I had strawberries. So chopped my strawberries and stuck them in a Tupperware tub. Just be clever. It doesn't need to be MasterChef. It just needs to be repeatable. The more brain power you can free up, and just follow the process, again, the more your confidence will increase and the more you can use that brain power for other stuff. Us midlife women and brain power, it's a fucking nightmare, all right? Step-wise, my step goal is, excuse me, drink of water. Yes, constantly got my bottle of water. My step goal that my coach has given me is 13,500 steps per day. Last week I came in on average at 14,334 per day. Most of them were way over. I was sitting at 14,000, 15,000, 20,000, and then Sunday went a bit to shit. So Sunday was 7,645, all right? But your daily step goal is perfectly acceptable to hit it over the week. Just turn it into a weekly step goal, all right? The week before I was 13,825, so that was an increase of about 500 a day, right? Which is banging, totally in the right direction. Sleep has been actually atrocious. Between my mum moving house and me being over there Thursday, Friday and Sunday and the golf on Saturday, it's been absolutely melting. Our new house is roasting. My sleep has not been great, all right? There was a couple of days at the beginning of the week that I had an afternoon nap. I love naps. She said yawning, excuse me. But Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, there was just no opportunities for the nap. So by the time we got to Sunday night, I was absolutely buggered. I didn't sleep particularly well. Well, I actually slept okay last night. It just wasn't long enough. I'm usually well awake before my alarm at 4:45, but I wasn't. I actually got a fright when my alarm went off this morning. However, I did go for a nap this afternoon at 1:45. So I napped basically for about 40 minutes. And then I got up, had a shower, went and did my afternoon training, coached my ladies at lift, and then I'm now home. I've been in for about an hour. Me and Jasper have been for a wee walk with a can of Pepsi, Diet Pepsi. I'm doing my podcast and then I'm going to have my dinner. So sleep is crucial to fat loss, I would say. If you don't have a pre-bed sleep routine, you need to get one. You need to protect your sleep. You need to put your phones away, have a nice wee warm shower before you go to bed. Make sure your room's nice and tidy and cool if you can. All right, it really does help with discipline and motivation for fat loss, definitely. All right, my sleep has been shit this week, last week, this week. I'm going to absolutely work on it, and if I need to nap, I will nap. All right. It also, lack of sleep hinders your recovery from training, so it can make you feel sorer as well, but which is not cool. But keep protecting your sleep, ladies. All right. So confidence. Week 2 is done. All right. Confidence is building that I might actually pull this off. Also, right, if you're listening to this right now and realising that you've been letting your friends, your family, your work actually as well can be another thing, or your old routines dictate your results and dictate the effort that you're putting into your goals, I would absolutely like you just to have a think about it. Let it float about in your head, all right? I now have no issues telling anybody that I'm not drinking. I have no issues telling anybody why I'm not drinking. I could quite happily stand and say to somebody, do you know what? I'm not drinking tonight because I'm on a 16-week transformation and it just makes life too difficult. Right? Or I'm not, in fact, I've actually spent the last year basically saying to folk, I'm not drinking because sometimes I can have a pint and I'm all right, and sometimes I can have 6 pints and I'm all right, and other times I can have half a pint and I've got the vomit, right? I have no issue with telling people that, but I did have an issue with telling people that at the very beginning. It just felt a bit weird. And it's like everything, ladies, if you're trying to build new habits, the more you do it, the easier it becomes, right? It's like saying, no, thank you, right? It's like saying, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that, I'm too busy, or no, thank you, right? It just becomes easier the more we do it. So draw a line in the sand today, ladies. Let that float about your head. Jasper, true to form, they're having a wee woof when I'm doing a podcast, right? And think about whether you're choosing temporary comfort over your long-term goals. All right, it's very easy to choose temporary comfort, very, very, very easy. But if you consistently choose temporary comfort, you will never get your long-term goal ever. So try something new this week, stick to the plan, and get your confidence up, my lovelies. All right, that is what we're aiming for. If you want to see, I will be sending an email out, all right, with the actual data, which is obviously amazing, because you will get to see my actual fat loss, my macro breakdown, my calorie breakdowns and stuff like that. If you want to do that, I will pop a wee link at the end of this podcast in the show notes, all right? But you can click on it, pop your email address in, and I'll give you the inside track on the 60-week transformation. Because, ladies, in midlife, we can do anything we want, all right? Have an amazing week, my lovelies, and start believing in yourselves. Ta-ta.